Have you been hearing about networking on LinkedIn but you're not sure how? Or have you tried networking on LinkedIn but you have been ghosted and wondering why? We're going to discuss all of them in this video. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Click on subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more videos on career, life motivation, and personal finance. As mentioned in my previous video, networking is one of the 3 main ways you can use LinkedIn to fast-track your career. If you haven't already watched it, please feel free to check it out. I think it will give you a really good idea on what you can do to elevate your career using LinkedIn. There are 2 main steps that you need to do to network effectively on LinkedIn. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do in each step. So let's get into it. Before you start connecting with people, it is a good idea to make sure you set up your profile properly. Why? Because when you connect with people, people would want to check out your profile to figure out more about you and decide if they want to connect with you. Let's imagine and put yourself in their shoes. If someone tries to connect with you and that person doesn't have anything in their profile but their name, would you connect with that person? But if that person's profile is nicely set up, have a profile photo, a good summary of themselves, do you think you're more likely to accept their connection requests? So this is why you need to set up your LinkedIn profile. For your photo, I'll recommend using a professional headshot. Please do not use a crop picture from your vacation. I personally would avoid having my graduation picture as my profile picture on LinkedIn. If I want to let people know that I've graduated and ready for employment, I would actually put it in a post instead of a profile picture. If you have been working in the industry for some time and have a lot of different experience, I think it's great to have a summary that really summarizes and highlights your journey and achievement. Also, summary is the first content that people can look at as they scroll down from your profile picture. So if you have a good intro of yourself, this will work in your favor. The last thing you need to look at if you want to meet at least the bare minimum is your background section. So make sure to fill in your experience and education. If you're a student and you don't have any experience yet, you can just fill in the education section and volunteer section if you have any. If you're wondering if there's anything else you could do more to make your profile look more appealing, the answer is yes, of course there are other things that you could do. But we are going to talk about it in my next week's video on how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. So you have your LinkedIn profile set up, now it's time to connect with people. Connecting to people sounds very simple and easy. You basically just need to click the connect button. But there are a few strategies that you can apply to maximize your chances. Before we talk about these strategies, I want to discuss the reason why you're ghosted and how we can use some of these strategies to tackle it. By the way, I just want you to keep in mind that if you're being ghosted, it doesn't always necessarily mean you do something wrong. It could be simply because the person that you're connecting with is not an active user. So please do not take it personally if someone is not accepting your connection requests. But there are some cases where you can avoid being ghosted. The first one is when you didn't do step 1 properly, aka your profile is empty and people are wondering, who is this person adding me and why should I accept the request? The second potential reason why you're being ghosted is when you just randomly adding people. I know it's tempting to grow the number of your connection on LinkedIn, but it's not doing any good for you or for your random new connections. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm a medical researcher and I'm adding randomly, and let's say I edit PE teachers and fashion designers. Even though I'm getting accepted, just because maybe they also want more connections on LinkedIn, this is what's going to happen. Okay, I'm a scientist, I post and read a lot of medical research news and updates on LinkedIn to advance my career. While it's good for me to see some other stuff to widen my knowledge, do I see the relevance of having PE education and fashion related stuff on my feed? I don't think so. And will my science posts be beneficial to PE teachers or fashion designers? or they might find it annoying. So the strategy to avoid this is to do your research or stalking before pressing the connect button. I actually discussed the art of stalking in more detail in this video, so please feel free to check it out. The stalking in here is not the creepy stalking, but rather trying to find the right person to connect. But I do understand that sometimes you do want to reach out to someone outside your circle because maybe you want to change careers or you want to gain some information or knowledge outside your expertise. By the way, I do have another video on how to change careers if that's what you want. But there's just one issue with this. You're more likely going to be ignored if it looks like you're just randomly adding them unless they also want to grow their connection and they just don't care even though it's random. So, how should we tackle this? The strategy is to use personalized message on LinkedIn when you add that person and explain why you're adding them. If people know you're not just randomly adding them and there is a solid reason for your request, people are more likely going to accept it. By the way, you can also apply this strategy not only for adding someone outside your field, but to any connection requests even when you have met them before. It's good to give a refresher on where you two have met. The third strategy is to see if you have a mutual connection with the person that you want to connect with. If you do, you can try to ask that mutual connection for an introduction. If your mutual connection agrees and your mutual connection really knows the person that you want to connect with, the chances of that person ignoring you is pretty low. If you don't have any mutual connection, or maybe you're changing careers and that's why you don't know anyone who knows someone in your target field, you can solve this issue by joining relevant groups on LinkedIn and start building your network from there. Another strategy is to build your personal brand, which I'm going to talk about in more detail in my next week's video. People are more likely to connect if they can see you can add value to them, and especially when you have a good personal brand. Let me just give you an example. Just imagine Bill Gates added your LinkedIn. You'll be like, oh my god, Bill Gates added me on LinkedIn, and yeah, of course I'm going to accept his request. It's Bill Gates. This is an extreme example, but I'm sure you get the point. By the way, you do not need to be as famous as Bill Gates or even nowhere near that to be able to successfully network on LinkedIn. So don't worry, you don't need to work on your personal branding that hard. There are a few small things that you can choose to do that really help your branding, not just to network, but also to get a new job. We'll talk more about this next week, so stay tuned. Since you're still watching this video, I'm going to give you bonus tips. If your LinkedIn is not on private mode, you can see who is viewing your profile and check out that person's profile. If you want, you can try to connect with that person. This will actually lead to a higher chance of getting connected because that person has shown an interest in your profile first. Once you have been connected to that person, you can then start the conversation to network. You can also try to catch up in person or over the phone later on to build a better relationship. If you're not sure about this, I have another video that tells you on what to do before, during, and after networking. So make sure to check it out. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to talk about using LinkedIn to build your personal brand next week. So make sure to click on the notification bell to get notified. In the meantime, while you wait for the next video to release, please feel free to check these two videos. I talk a lot about career, life motivation, and personal finance, so click on the subscribe button if this is what interests you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a nice day and a great week. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!